Thank you so much for being here. Today is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. It's 14:30 hours. I'm going to read Proverbs chapter 24. Today I'm going to talk about compassion will cure more sins than condemnation. Okay, Proverbs 24. Be not thou envious of evil men, neither desire to be with them. For their heart studieth destruction, and their lips talk of mischief. Through wisdom is a house built, and by understanding it is established. And by knowledge shall the chambers be filled with all riches and pleasant riches. A wise man is strong, yea, a man of knowledge increases strength. For by wise counsel thou shalt make thy war. In a multitude of counselors there is safety. Wisdom is too high for a fool. He openeth not his mouth in the gate. He that devises to do evil shall be called as mischievous person. The thought of foolishness is sin, and the scoffer is an abomination to men. If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. If thou forbear to deliver those who are drawn unto death, and those who are ready to be slain, if thou sayest, Behold, we knew it not, doth not he that weigheth the heart consider it? And he that keepeth thy soul, doth not he know it? And shall not he render to every man according to his works? My son, eat thy honey, because it is good, and the honeycomb, which is sweet to thy taste. So shall the knowledge of wisdom be unto thy soul. When thou hast found it, then there shall be a reward, and thy expectation shall not be cut off. Lay not wait, O wicked man, against the dwelling of the righteousness. Spoil not his resting place. For a just man falleth 7 times and rises up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief. Rejoice not when thine enemy falleth, and let not thine heart be glad when he stumbleth, lest the Lord see it, and it displease him, and he turn away his wrath from him. Fret not thyself because of evil men, neither be thou envious of the wicked. For there shall be no reward to the evil man. The lamp of the wicked shall be put out. My son, fear thou the Lord and the king, and meddle not with them that are given to change. For their calamity shall rise suddenly, and who knoweth the ruin of them both? These things also belong to the wise. It is not good to have respect of persons in judgment. He that saith unto the wicked, Thou art righteous, him shall the people curse. Nations shall abhor him. But to those who rebuke him shall be delight, and a good blessing shall come upon them. Every man shall kiss his lips who giveth a right answer. Prepare thy work outside, and make it fit for thyself in the field, and afterwards build thine house. Be not a witness against thy neighbor without cause, and deceive not with thy lips. Say not, I will do so to him as he hath done to me. I will render to the man according to his work. I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns, and nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. Then I saw and considered it well. I looked upon it and received instruction. Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come like one that travelleth, and thy want like an armed man. That's Proverbs 24. Now I'm going to go to Psalms 91. Psalms 91. He who dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My hail the fowler in front of noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. For the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the pestilence that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come near thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked, because thou hast made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come near thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. Thou shalt bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. Thou shalt tread upon the lion and adder, the young lion and the serpent shalt thou trample under feet, because he hath set his love upon me. Therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. That's Psalms 91. So today I want to talk about compassion will cure more sins than condemnation. Compassion will cure more sins than condemnation. Dear God, thank you. Amen. Compassion will cure more sins than condemnation. Are sins curable? Is sin a disease? Okay. Compassion is not weakness, it is strategy. It is not weak at all to show anybody compassion. Some people think that you have to prove that you're spiritual or saved by condemning people all the time. I believe Jesus used more compassion than he did condemnation. You know what? You can draw more people with honey than with boo boo. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. To prove that you can be compassionate in a in a condemning situation proves how strong you are. It is not being compassionate is not agreement with wrongdoing. It's not saying that you agree with what the person is doing. It's just saying that, hey, I know what they're doing is wrong, but I'm gonna show them compassion anyway because everybody else is already condemning them. I'm not gonna join and do what everybody else is doing because they're doing it. Excuse me. Being compassionate means that you're in alignment with their transformation. I believe more people are willing to be more open and receptive with compassionate people than with someone who's condemning them. Most of the time when people are doing wrong, they already know it. They know what they did is wrong. You condemning them for that wrongdoing, it's not going to change. But to say, hey, I know what you're doing is wrong, but I'm here for you. And to go and to be with somebody without even acknowledging them. Some people acknowledge you by what you have done wrong instead of acknowledging you for who you are or who you belong to. You know, condemnation may expose sin, but compassion extracts it. Only thing you're doing when you're condemning someone is letting them know that you know that what they've done is wrong. That's all condemnation does. It's saying, hey, I saw you. You wrong for that. What you did was wrong. If you're compassionate with somebody, you can extract that sin out of them because you being open and receptive to them will make them vulnerable and want to come to you. Do you think somebody would want to go to someone who's constantly condemning them? Or do you think they would want to go to someone who's always showing love, care, and compassion towards them? The very thing we were taught would fix people is the very thing keeping them broken. The very thing that we were taught that would fix people is the very thing that's keeping them broken. You know, I grew up in a church. We had a female witch as our pastor. And when someone did something wrong, including me, I had this experienced this, had to go in front of the church and expose our sin to the church. Not only are we being condemned by the pastor that's in charge at the time, but now the pastor's going to open it up for everybody to get a chance to condemn you for what you've done wrong. And I remember feeling, when I went home, I remember feeling, if heaven is anything like this church, I don't want to go. I remember feeling that after that. So I believe what the pastor in that church was taught would fix people, kept them broken. It definitely kept me broken. I didn't feel, and this is my experience, I did not at one moment feel like, okay, I need to go and repent because They done brought me in front of the church now. I didn't feel that at all. Uh, so the very thing uh, that most people were taught that would fix people is the very thing that's keeping them broken. Now, and this pastor probably did this because they probably experienced it themselves growing up as a child too, and thought was probably thinking that was the right thing to do. So I'm not here to condemn her for doing that. I'm just saying we can't continue on doing something just because grandmama's grandmama did it. Especially if it's not fixing anybody and it's just continuing to break people. What if shouting truth without tenderness is like throwing medicine at a wound without cleaning it out? Shouting truth without tenderness is like throwing medication at a wound without cleaning it out. You can have the truth and tell people the truth all day long. Say, well, this the truth. The Bible is right and everybody is wrong. And I'm going to stand on the truth. I don't care what you're doing. You are just wrong, 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 wrong. You are wrong for what you're doing. And I'm standing on truth. Try a little tenderness. Try a little tenderness. You know, you can be saved and stupid. You can have the truth, but you don't have to be aggressive and demanding and condemning and have no love. If God is love and everything you're doing is the opposite of love, then how I know if you are from God? So shouting truth at people without tenderness is like throwing medicine at a wound without cleaning it. What's the point? The medicine is not going to do any good. All you doing is putting more dirt. You're not taking the dirt away, you're allowing the dirt to stay there. And that's just going to affect the wound and everything else around the wound. Have you ever been corrected by someone who clearly did not care about you? Have you ever been corrected by someone who clearly did not care about you? How did that make you feel? For me, I mean, I couldn't take them seriously. I just look at them. This is just my experience. Whatever they said or did wouldn't matter to me. It wouldn't bother me. I'd just be like, okay, all right. I would just be looking at them like half crazy. Like, there's no need for you to try to correct me. You don't care nothing about me. What is your purpose? What is your point? You know what? You call it correcting, but you're just using it as an opportunity just to be mean to somebody, just to condemn someone. Because in order for you to make yourself feel good, you have to make someone else feel smaller. And so that's the only reason why you're trying to correct someone who you care anything, don't even care anything about anyway. We are living in an era of megaphones with no mercy. We are living in the era of megaphones with no mercy. There are so many bloggers, and I'm not condemning bloggers or YouTube bloggers. What I'm doing, some people might consider a YouTube blogger, but there are some people out here with megaphones ready to pounce on anything and everybody who's doing something wrong, but fail to show any type of mercy towards that person. Now, if you've done the crime, you're gonna have to do the time. If it's criminal in nature, hey, we forgive you, but you still gonna have to serve the consequences of your illegal act. But if you're gonna be quick to point out the wrongdoing in someone else, at least put your own testimony in there. Say, hey, I've done this too, or I know, or try to treat them how you would want to be treated if that was you in that situation. Just because you have a megaphone or an audience or subscribers that will give you the platform um, to condemn people, it can also be a platform for you to show compassion to people. Show the opposite. Now, I know some people might be saying, well, condemning give me more views. Talking about people give me more views, more subscribers. But at what expense? Yeah, you might have the money and things at that time, but And your views might go up, subscribers might, but life is a wave. Everything that goes up comes down. And you don't want to be on your down point. And now that the spotlight is on you, instead of people showing mercy to you, they are now, with their megaphones, are now in the process of condemning you. Platforms with no patience, pulpits with no pulse. There's a lot of platforms who are quick. They don't have the patience to wait to get the totality of the circumstances, to get the full matter of the situation out. They want to be the first one to hit the internet with the information, which is totally understandable. Totally understandable. Not condemning you. Platforms with no patience, though. And then there are pulpits with no pulse. It's just dead saints in the pulpit. You look at them, they look dead. They don't enjoy or participate in praise and worship. They sit there in the pulpit looking all studious and mighty and high because their platform is higher than what they were so-called the lay members. And when you get up and speak, you're speaking to a church who feels like, okay, you don't care nothing about me. You sit up there in the pulpit with no pulse. You're dead. Speaking a dead sermon, talking about, and you know what? But there's so many preachers who are more sin focused than God focused, which I don't understand. They're more sin conscious than God conscious. If God is all powerful, show me if you really believe that by the words that come out of your mouth. I believe that God is all powerful, so that's all I want to talk about. Gospel is the good news. While I'm up in the pulpit talking about anything other than the good news, which is God. Um, we counsel people quicker than we counsel people. We counsel people, get rid of people, we counsel them out of our life quicker than we offer counseling to that person. Someone do something wrong, or you heard that someone do something wrong, okay, I'm not even gonna talk to them. I believe you because I can see them doing something like that. So I'm just gonna get rid of them, get them out of my life. Let me put them on block right now. You counsel the person even before you have the opportunity to say, "Hey, what's up? I heard that you did this, this, and that. I know that's gossip. I don't know if it's true or not. But if you did do this, I'm here with you. I'm standing beside you. Let's go through this together." And offer counseling. Now, if you're not a licensed counselor, recommend one. But just be the hold space for someone. Just be in their presence. You don't have to do all the talking. Just hold space. Just to let them know, hey, I'm here. I'm here. People are not bad. People do bad things at different times in their lives. I haven't met not one person yet who has not ever done anything bad. And if we can hold compassion for people during that difficult moment, compassion causes people to confess. People will be more willing and more likely to confess their sins to someone who's compassionate than to someone who's filled with condemnation. Growing up, if I had a pastor that I felt was loving and compassionate, then there's some things that I probably went through experience that I would have felt more comfortable going to her with. But growing up with that pastor who was just which, in my opinion, manipulative and expressed witch-like behavior, I had no desire to talk to her whatsoever about anything. Because all I saw was condemnation. You can preach from the pulpit love all day long, but if I'm not seeing any of it, condemnation, all it does is tells people they're wrong. Condemnation says you are wrong. Compassion says you are wounded. Condemnation, all it does is point the finger and tell people you are wrong. And you got one, two, three fingers and one thumb pointing right back at you. Condemnation, all it does is says, hey, you are wrong. When you tell someone they're wrong, you're not telling them something that they don't already know. They already know that they're wrong. Social compassion. Compassion says, hey, you are not wrong. What you did was wrong, but you were wounded. What wound do we need to clean out before we put the medicine on it to heal that will prevent you from doing this thing that was wrong again? Let's deal with that. Let's show some compassion. Condemnation identifies the behavior. Compassion investigates the backstory. Condemnation identifies that, hey, you're acting like a cheater. Your behavior is wrong. Okay, the cheater knows that. But compassion will investigate, okay, why are you cheating? Why are you doing this? Were you cheated on? What's the backstory to this? Why is this happening? Condemnation, all it does is pushes people away. Compassion will pull people into you. And you don't even have to open your mouth to show compassion. Your spirit, your energy will let someone know, hey, this is someone I feel safe around or comfortable around. They're not around me looking all state with a condemning face. I was at a church service one time, and this pastor came into church. Pastor lady came into church. I saw her look at this other lady and literally look her up and down. Saw it with my own two eyes. Looked her up and down. And the lady didn't say nothing to the pastor. The lady was just standing there. The pastor went up to her and looked her up and down. She didn't say a word, but her actions was filled with condemnation. Condemnation pushes people away. Now, I don't know the story between those two, but whatever the story is, there was no reason or no room or no rhyme or reason for any condemnation at all to be in church. She should have just showed compassion and would have pulled that lady in. What if her looking at her up and down made the lady say, I ain't never going to nobody church ever again? Now, I believe God and the church is separate. Church is a good place to go to gather among right-minded people. But I believe it's God, the family, and then the church. And I believe you can experience God all by yourself. I grew up in the church, so I happen to enjoy church. But trust me, there's times that I want to throw the whole church away. Compassion is not co-signing chaos. It is not baptizing bad decisions. It is not decorating dysfunction. Some people feel like they are not saved unless they are constantly condemning. And that's a sad situation to be in. To really believe that if I'm not condemning you, that means I'm not saved, I'm not upholding the banner or upholding the armor of Christ. That ideology needs to go away. And then if you start showing love to somebody, to a sinner, they be like, y'all must be doing the same thing. Jesus ate with sinners. Let's show a little love, show a little tenderness, show some compassion. I can be around people that are different than me, people around me, and God knows I'm different than most. But just because I'm around you don't mean I am agreeing with what you are doing, what you are wearing, or what you are thinking. I'm just here to show compassion. I'm just here to show who I believe God to be. God is within me. I am an outward expression of the God that is within me. And I believe that the God that is within me would show compassion at this point instead of condemnation. Compassion is not decorating dysfunction. I'm not trying to make your dysfunction look pretty. I'm just here to show compassion and show you what love is about and who I believe God is all about. Compassion is clarity with care. It is correction without cruelty. You can correct someone without being cruel. I mean, say for instance you believe in giving children a spanking. You can give them a spanking and have a conversation with them before and after the spanking and say, this is why this happened. You don't have to spank them and be cruel and be like, you just like your mom, you just like your dad, you ain't gonna grow up to be nobody. You crazy, you foolish for doing this. All of those are words that don't ever, never, ever need to be said. Now, I got 3 children. I've raised 2. I'm in the process of raising 1. I can remember not ever whooping any one of my children. and ever saying something like that to him. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here. So you can correct without being cruel. You don't have to be cruel to your children or to anybody who have done something that you believe need to be condemned for. Shame rarely produces lasting behavior changes. Shame rarely produces lasting behavior changes. It produces secrecy and avoidance, defensive behavior. When you condemn someone and shame someone publicly, especially making them get up and stand in front of a church filled with people that don't care about them, it's not going to make them say, oh, I better change my behavior so I won't do this again. You'll make them be more secretive and hide it and avoid you and the whole church altogether because they don't want to experience that anymore. I remember seeing this pastor on the YouTubes put this little girl who had got pregnant up in front of the church and then said, and don't have a baby shower for her. Why? That is just cruel. The baby still needs to be taken care of. And why is she up there? Where's the boy that did she get self-pregnant? You cannot shame someone into sustainable change. You cannot shame someone into sustainable change. You can shame people all day long. That is not going to change them all day long. Let me know if you know of a way that shame has ever worked for anybody. Most grown people are just wounded children in grown bodies with bills. Most grown people are just wounded children in grown bodies. And that's an unfortunate truth. It really is. It's an unfortunate truth. Most grown people are just wounded children in grown bodies with bills. We all have wounds to carry, to bear. So if you have a wound, then don't use your wound to condemn someone else to make you feel better. It's not right. It's not fair. You see attitude, but you don't see abandonment. That's how you know when you're dealing with a person who's wounded. You'll see their attitude. They'll have a bad and nasty and ugly attitude all day. And that's all you see is their attitude. But you don't see their abandonment issues. You don't see the story behind the attitude, the reason why they have an attitude. You don't see none of that, and you don't care about none of that. Compassion asks the second question. Condemnation stops at the first. Condemnation says, did you do this? And then they get to yelling and screaming and condemning people. Compassion asks the second question, which is not only did you do this, but why did you do this? How can we prevent this from happening again? What happened to cause you to do this? How can I help you? What can we do together? Do you need an accountability partner? What can we do to make sure this never happens again? Condemnation focuses on punishment. Compassion focuses on potential. Condemnation focuses on punishment. Compassion focuses on potential. Some people don't feel like they're worth being here unless they're punishing somebody. I know someone, to me, it seemed like at times their favorite saying is, I'm going to whip your behind, I'm going to whip your behind, I'm going to whip your behind. That's all you hear. Nothing positive is ever said. All you hear is, I'm going to whip your behind. So it makes me feel, do they feel like that's their only purpose for being here is just to go around whipping people's behind? I don't know. Condemnation says this is who you are. Compassion says this is not who you have to stay. Condemnation is pointing at someone saying you are a liar. This is just who you are. That's condemnation. Compassion says this is not who you have to stay. You don't have to stay where you're at. This is a temporary situation. We're going to get your credit straight. We're going to get you to a place where you don't have to live there anymore. You can go somewhere else and do better and greater things. If we stop condemning, people will think anything goes. That's the mindset a lot of people have. Hey, I have to keep condemning my members. I have to keep condemning and saying this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, you are wrong, you're going to hell, everybody in here is going to hell. If you are a pastor and you have a church and every single Sunday all you see is everybody doing wrong, there's a problem. I'm not saying you as the pastor is the problem or the church members is the problem, but there is a problem where all you see is bad. You can't think of nothing good to say. Hey, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Even though you was 2 hours late, thank you so much for being here. Compassion is not softness without standards. It is strength with strategy. Compassion is not softness without standards. It is strength with strategy. A lot of people think if you're too compassionate, that means you're too soft, which I don't see a problem with being too soft. But some people correlate being soft with someone who has no standards. But that is not the truth. That is not the case. Yes, my standard is compassion. My standard is not condemnation. My standard is by using strength as my strategy. I am strong in my compassion. My compassion is stronger than yours, and I'm proud of that. There's never a wrong time to show compassion. There's never a wrong time to show compassion. There's always room for compassion. And the more you use it, the stronger your compassion grows. The more you use your muscles, the stronger your muscles grows. If a surgeon finds an infection, she does not scream at the infection. She removes it carefully. The goal is healing, not humiliation. The goal is healing, not humiliation. If your doctor tells you, hey, you got an infection, and all the doctor do is say, hey, you got an infection, hey, you got an infection, hey, you eat too much sugar, so now you got an infection, now you got an infection. And all the doctor do is just yell at you, now you got an infection. It never does nothing to help get rid of that infection. That doctor is no good to you. Same with condemnation. If all condemnation is going to do is yell at you and remind you of what you done did or what you have, that condemnation is no good to you. And no matter how that condemnation comes, no matter what form that condemnation comes in, if the goal is healing, then what we need to do is say, hey, this is what you have. But not only am I going to tell you what you have, we're going to take the proper procedures to carefully remove this infection. I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to humiliate you. My goal is to heal you. Compassion does not eliminate consequences. It changes the spirit behind them. It reminds me of the Diddy trial. 50 Cent, I believe 50 Cent, put out a movie, The Downfall of Diddy. I did not want to watch anything. I believe that was the name of it, or was it somebody else? Because it was one on Tubi. Two. I did not want to watch anything about the downfall of anybody. The title in itself seems condemning to me. I'm not saying what Diddy did was right or wrong, but imagine that saying the downfall of She is Heisenberg. Hey, y'all see my cash out right there? Cash out She is Heisenberg. Let the Lord use you. But but that title to me was filled with condemnation. So was the turnoff to me. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see it. It was condemnation was the spirit behind that movie. Now, I can show compassion to Diddy. I don't know Diddy personally. I've never seen him personally. Don't know nothing about him. I just know about him through um, the public thing because he's a famous person. But even though I can show compassion to Diddy, it's not going to eliminate the consequences. He still gonna have to pay the time for the crime or what he did. That video of him kicking Cassidy in the hallway was horrible. Horrible. Now, in my opinion, Cassidy needed way more compassion at that time than Diddy did. But it's still not gonna make me want to watch anything about the downfall of Diddy. The spirit behind that making of that documentary, the downfall of anybody, the downfall of Diddy, downfall of anybody. I don't want to give any energy to that because I don't want that to come to me. You can discipline with dignity. You can sit somebody down if you're a pastor of a church. You can sit somebody down with dignity when no one will ever know. And they will sit down. You don't have to make no announcement or anything. You can discipline with dignity. You don't always have to yell, scream, shout, and get a belt, a drumstick, a tree trunk, or anything. You can confront without contempt. You can correct without crushing. I don't want to crush our poor dear children's hearts, their souls, and that's how they become adults with wounds, because we crushing them as children, because we are wounded adults. And we take it out on our most vulnerable people on earth, which is our children. People change fast once they realize change is possible. People will change fast once they realize change is possible. What are you doing to let them know that they don't have to always be this way, that change is possible? If you're constantly condemning them, they will never see a way out because you have not given them that. Only thing you keep telling them is, hey, you wrong. Condemnation convinces them they are the problem. Compassion convinces them they have a problem. And the difference is deliverance. Condemnation makes people feel like they are the problem. Compassion convinces them that they have a problem. You are not the problem. You just have a problem. And guess what? Every problem has a solution. Now, it might take a long time to find that solution, but we're going to find a solution to this problem. We're going to find the answer to this problem. And the difference is deliverance. A condemned person, the chances of them being delivered is a high unlikelihood. A person that you show compassion to have a very high likelihood of being delivered from the problem. It's hard to deliver someone if you tell them that they are the problem. But it's easier to deliver someone when you say, hey, you are not the problem, you just have a problem. When you label a person as a sin, you lock them inside of it. Separate the person from the behavior. This will give them room to step out. When you label a person as a sin, when you label them as an adulterer and put the red letter A on their forehead, all you see is an adulterer. You don't even call them by their name. You call them the scarlet letter A. You label them as the sin, they'll never be separate from that. Because now all you see is an adulterer. But once you start to show compassion and say, hey, let's put an S on your chest. Let's get rid of that A and put an S on your chest. You're a superwoman. Who cares? I mean, a lot of people care that you committed adultery. I'm sure it probably hurt a lot of people. But you are so much more than that. Who were you before you committed the act of adultery? Let me show you who you're going to be after this act of adultery. You're going to be bolder and greater. Compassion is not weakness, it is wisdom. We need less finger pointing and more hand holding. Can you imagine you being the person holding hands with the person with the scarlet letter A on their head? Of course, people be looking at you crazy too. But you'll make a difference not only in their life, but imagine the story they're going to tell after this letter A to people. They're like, hey, everybody looked at me crazy. Nobody would eat with me. Nobody would talk on the phone with me. People put me on blocked. They all unfollowed me. They all unsubscribed from me. But she is Heisenberg. She held my hand all the way through this. And I'll never forget that. She stayed with me. She didn't point her finger at me. She held my hand and let me know I was so much more than that scarlet letter A. Compassion is not weakness, it is wisdom. We need to have more clinical like energy and less courtroom like energy. As a former officer, I've been in courts several times, too many to count. But in it's high tense, high energy because of course you have to pay the consequences for the crime you've committed, so that energy is expected to be there. But when you leave that courtroom, let's show a hospital like rehabilitation like energy. You can be a clinic all within yourself. You can be an emergency urgency care clinic all within yourself. Somebody might need healing from condemnation. Somebody might just need a hug or to talk or just to be seen as something other than what they have done. And you can be that for that person. Truth without tenderness turns toxic. It's nothing worse than toxic truth. I remember this lady one time. She always had a nasty attitude. She was like, well, at least I'm telling the truth. I'm real. I'm real. She always say I'm real. Okay, but nobody wants to be. I'm real too. I'm not going around showing this nasty attitude towards everybody. What does that do for you? If you got to go around telling everybody all the time, well, I'm real, I'm keeping it real, I'm keeping it real, that has to be doing something to make you feel like you are real because you know you are a fraud. People do not stay where they feel judged. They stay where they feel understood. People do not stay where they feel judged. They stay where they feel understood. It ain't nothing like some good understanding. Everybody has a story. Everybody has gone through somewhere. Some women might not dress the way you want them to dress. That's okay. Nobody's going to die. It's okay. It's okay. Make them feel understood. Talk to them. Find out their story. Maybe they feel like there's absolutely nothing wrong with what they got on. And they really believe that because that's all they've seen. That's all they know. Their grandma dressed like that. Their mama dressed like that. That's all they know. Just try to show some understanding. Compassion plants belief. Belief produces behavior. Behavior produces breakthrough. Compassion plants belief. Belief produces behavior. Behavior produces breakthrough. And at the end of the day, we want this person to have a breakthrough. Condemning someone will not bring them about a breakthrough. If anything, they're going to go bury themselves somewhere. And we pray they don't do something to permanently bury themselves. But if you show them some compassion, it'll make them feel like they can believe in themselves again. I believe that I am so much more than what I have done wrong. This person believes in me, so I need to believe in me. And that belief will cause a change in their behavior. And that change in their behavior will produce a breakthrough for them to get out of that situation. Compassion does not excuse sin, it extracts sin. I'm not trying to make a way to excuse you for smoking that weed or anything like. I'm not saying smoking weed is wrong or not wrong. That's between you, your doctor, and your God. I'm just using examples for this situation going on right now. Compassion does not excuse. I can show compassion to any sinner. You know why? Because I am a sinner. You are a sinner. I don't know anybody who's sinless. And I'm still saved. Jesus died on the cross for my salvation and for your salvation. Okay? Well, being compassionate and showing compassion will make someone be more willing to allow you to be the surgeon to clean up that sin, and then to let the healing process begin so we can extract that sin out of their life. Compassion does not ignore wrong, it interrupts the cycle. Compassion does not ignore the wrongdoing, it interrupts the cycle. We don't know why people do what they do or done what they're done or anything like that. I remember a long time ago, I arrested this juvenile, and he told me himself, I arrested him for theft for something, entering auto or something like that. I can't quite remember, but I remember him telling me. I can't remember exactly what he did, but I do remember the words that came out of his mouth because it shocked me. He said, "My dad in jail for the same thing." Compassion extracts. Compassion interrupts. It interrupts the cycle. Now I could have said like father, like son, but I didn't. I just talked with the young man, and he was intelligent. And I remember telling him, well, you don't have to follow in your father's footsteps if that's not where you want to be. And that's not something I would brag about. I remember telling him that. Like, don't say that again. Are you proud that your father is in jail? Interrupt the cycle. Be the change maker. Be the difference. When you have a child, do you want your child going around telling people your dad is in jail? I don't know if that young man will ever see this, but I remember you. And I hope you remember the words that I told you that day. And I'm glad that, I'm not glad that he was arrested at all, but I'm glad that on the day he was arrested, I happened to be on duty and had the opportunity to have that conversation with him. Because I know for a fact, if there's any other, some other officer in particular would have went a different way. Some feel that all of them are in jail and need to be in jail or should be in jail. You know, compassion elevates, compassion extracts, compassion interrupts, and compassion elevates. I pray that the words I said to that young man elevated his mindset, because he probably have never ever in his life heard those words before. He probably only heard that you're going to be in jail just like your dad. Keep doing that. That's probably all he's ever heard. So I pray that it has elevated him and he is somewhere doing something great right now. We weaponize words. Our words are a weapon. Our words create worlds. We crucify before we converse. I could have crucified that young man and been like, I'm going home, you going to jail, which is something I have often said. I could have crucified him. No. I decided to have a conversation. Self-condemnation paralyzes progress. A lot of people are condemning themselves. So the fact that they're already condemning themselves, they don't need nobody else to do it. How many condemnations does it take? There's never a wrong time or a wrong place to show some compassion. We can confront people without being cruel. Confront without cruelty. And you don't have to confront someone publicly. Take them to the side. Say, hey, I noticed you did this. I noticed you did this. Now they take it publicly. Reminds me, this young lady stole from me. This young lady is known to be a thief. And I went to go tell her mom, and her mom did. Her mom cussed me out. And now this same woman who cussed me out know that this young lady is a thief, because they told me before that this person has stolen stuff before. Now I pray that this young lady is no longer a thief. But I won't be surprised when this young lady get old or older, get charged with theft somewhere. And I pray that the woman who cussed me out does not call me and ask me for any advice, because I'm going to tell her, no, go down there and cuss them out like you cussed me out when she stole from me. That's going to be the words I'm out now. That ain't compassion. So y'all pray for me. We need strategic compassion and intentional compassion. So we need our compassion to be strategic and intentional. In order for our compassion to be strategic and intentional means that we always have to have it in the top of our, we always have to think compassion first. Before condemnation, before anything else, let's show some compassion first. Let that be the first thing we show. I see your flaw and I still see your future. You can see the flaw in people and still see their future. You can see their flaw, what they did was wrong. But you can say, hey, if I show enough compassion, and if they're open and receptive to receiving this compassion, I can see a future that is so much more brighter for them. And that's what we pray what happens in most situations. When people feel seen beyond their worst moment, they begin to outgrow it. When people feel seen beyond their worst moment, they begin to outgrow it. Because once you start seeing a person for their potential instead of for what they did, and they recognize that other people can see them better than what they did, they outgrow it because they don't want to be stuck into something and to be known for something that is embarrassing for them. Condemnation wins arguments. Compassion wins people. You can win an argument by condemning someone, especially if somebody was caught in the act of adultery and it was wrong. Jesus didn't sit there and condemn the lady at the well. I mean, the lady, and he didn't throw rocks or anything. He showed compassion. And by showing that compassion, it won her over and everybody else. Love that tells the truth without tearing down the truth teller. We need to have the love that tells the truth without tearing down the truth teller. Now, the truth teller reminds me of the girl who always say, I'm real. I like being real. Always keeping it real. Okay, I can show that person love and compassion and say, okay, you can tell the truth, but I can't hear your truth because of the way you're telling the truth. It's filled with condemnation. Love that believes change is possible before change appears. I see it and I believe it before I see it. I know change is possible because I'm possible, and the only thing constant is change. Okay, compassion will cure more sin than condemnation because compassion invites confession. Confess your sins and be forgiven of them. Compassion is the only way that you will get that confession. And we need to reach before we react. You know, we can't clean the fish without first catching the fish. So let's catch the people first before we start condemning them for what they're smoking or who they're sleeping with or what they're doing. Let's reach out to them first. And then show some compassionate reaction. You do not heal people by pushing them away. You don't heal people by pushing them away. How is that possible? If they're not even in the same proximity as they were once in when they were in your presence, and they're no longer there because of your presence, there's no way for you to be a part of their healing opportunity. Use discipline with dignity. You can discipline your children or discipline anybody with dignity. You can discipline your subordinates with dignity. You know, this is what I used to do when I used to play cops and robbers. I was a sergeant. Before I issue any disciplinary action by any one of my subordinates, I would take them to my office probably. The first thing I would say is, "Hey, are you okay?" And I learned this from another sergeant. He's a lieutenant now. So I can't take credit for this. But I always say, "Are you okay? Is everything going well with you? Okay, why did you do that? Okay, let's not do that anymore, okay? Now, do you have any complaints, comments, concerns, anything for me?" But I'll always start with, "Are you okay?" I use discipline with dignity. I just didn't go in there and start berating them and just like, what in the world is wrong with you? I use discipline with dignity and advise them this can't happen again. Right now it's just a verbal warning between me and you. Happens again, I'm gonna have to put some paperwork in, and neither one of us want that. 9 times out of 10, that always worked with me. Use leadership with love. Just because everybody know you the boss. Trust me, everybody know you the boss. So you don't have to lead with a lethal weapon. You can lead with love. You don't have to be mean and cruel and a big bad bully because you're the boss. Compassion will cure more sin than condemnation. Compassion will cure more sin than condemnation. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. I learned something. Hope you did too. Dear God, thank you. Amen. Check out the Cash App.